Yeah. This is for the raza. Yeah.
Hola, Chicano Folklorico class. We're gonna make our mass today. We're gonna have a great class. We're gonna work with Gabriel Avila, have a great conversation. Gonna add Gabriel's elements to the choreography. I hope you're all ready for this week's Chicano Folklorico class. Let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. So today we're going to have a discussion with a guest, Gabriel Avila, a colleague and friend, about a little bit more about the origins of Danza de Los Viejitos and how we're relating it to contemporary times and its significance as a dance of protest. Let's welcome Gabriel Avila.
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to participate. My name is Gabriel Vela. I like to go by Gabe, very simple, you know. I am the artistic director of Pasión de mi Tierra dance company. We are celebrating a decade now, and the need of the company was born out of this necessity to continue educating children and giving them a sense of consciousness, you know, where it's not just stepping, but that it's to be aware of what it feels like to dance in the heart and what it feels like to dance in the soul.
Right.
So that's sort of the theme of the company, and it's really great because it has allowed me to grow as an artist, but also grow as a human. And I think that it's those two qualities that really make for sensible art, you know?
I agree, and that's how I, started following your work. You're just, you're all around Renaissance man, and I appreciate the work that you do, and I'm glad you agreed to do this with me. Thank you.
You know, I go outside of my comfort zone. You know, I started with very stylized folklorico, and then I moved into a more theatrical, and then I decided to just be more traditional. But all of those aspects, I think my favorite one has always been able to be, has always been the kind of folklorico stories that aren't told the traditional, conventional way, you know?
In the exercises before, in the tutorials before, we had talked about like expressing emotion, right? And you had talked about these ideas of like hand movements, and I was wondering if you wanted to explore that or talk about it. That it's maybe something that we can incorporate into the choreography that we have now. And also, just to add to it real quick, we added this idea of directions, and that the screen was the element of water, and we were like happy, and like, holding our cane and using our head to express happy. And then this stage right, we considered this fire, and this was like our angry, we were like putting out our cane and like reaching at a distance. And then the wall was like this sad and like maybe like feeling sick, and I leaned on the cane, and that was air. And then this side here was earth, and it was like this idea of like pain in my body, and like cooling down, just like so much pain from like either sewing so much or doing carpentry that my back hurts, or something that I was working at all my life, and now as an older person, like it's hurting me, right? And so we added those earth elements as well to the directions of expressing emotion.
Right. So can I also give you I think it's incredible that you're doing that, and this is why. I don't know if you knew this. I'm sure you do, but I don't know if your students might know this. You're actually doing exactly what was done in religious observations during the Mesoamerican period of our history, because the Aztec Empire, the Mexica culture, they believed that the cardinal points were part of what made them the center of the world, el ombligo de la luna, right? And so they had the cardinal points are really important for them, and they also associated it with the elements. So whereas you have different, for your own purposes, you have like certain ideas about where the elements were or how the movement connects to that, they did that as well where not only with the movement, some of the stuff that we're going to go over, but also the idea of earth, wind, fire, water, and how they all connected to bring us into being, So that's great. I think that's a great thing, to use the elements and cardinal points as emotions. I think that we're not too far off from what the Mexicas were doing, 1,000 years ago. Right. So it's really great. And I went in to do some little bit of investigations about some of the ideas and theories of how movement is portrayed in the in the codices or in the sculptures of Mexica art. So one of the most popular, if not most important, sculptures is that of Coatlicue. Coatlicue means she of the serpent skirt, right? And it's supposed to be this representation of the earth mother, the mother of the gods, the provider of life and death and everything. And so in the statue, her hands are up this way, right? They're this way. And it's supposed to be sort of the, I'm ready to attack, or I'm ready to, jump off and take into action, right? Mm-hmm. So I think where you mentioned that where the cane and you're putting it out, it's sort of that idea too, that motion of going forward relays the idea that you're not happy to see somebody. You're ready to all right, keep your distance, please.
Right.
Right. And it's really interesting because there's a couple of different movements or series of visual movements that you can see in the codices that are also translated into some of the dances. For instance, when you mentioned the back, wait, what is it? Is it facing
stage left, right?
Stage left, right? And you're doing this with their back, right?
Exactly.
So that in itself is a sign of not just longevity, but also of hard work, because one of the things that you can see, and this is visually seen. There's a codex called the Codex Boturini. The Boturini Codex has the 4 leaders of all the tribes, and they're walking and they're holding their whatever they hold considered dear, right, on their backs. And in order for them to be able to carry that for so long, especially given that they worked their way through a lot of the mountainous regions of the Valley of Mexico, the Anahuac, they had to lean. They realized that leaning forward was easier than to try to walk straight with something heavy on your back.
Right, you're using an aesthetics, right? For that power.
Yes.
That resistance.
Yeah. So you see that a lot in how it's reflected in. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going way off, and I knew this was gonna happen, but when we do folklorico Jalisco, how do the guys dance? They dance this way.
Right.
Yeah, and they're doing this, and so what are they doing? They're showing that they work hard.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, completely. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got up. I just want to dance all the time, but
yeah, let's move. Whatever I'm trying to, I'm following you. Whatever you want to teach, that we can, we can incorporate it into the choreography.
Yeah.
Where either it's this idea of directions, or this idea of expressing emotion, or elements, or all three, whatever you feel is most. Yeah.
Well, I think what's really great about breaking down steps for your students is really incredible, because you know, again, it's this idea that you're giving them form. You're showing them the mechanics of it, but also the dynamics. And what does that dynamics mean? It means that there's actually a reason for that step. You know, when we were doing the hands moving forward, the other movement that you see in the codices or in certain codices is this idea that there's a hand up. So put your left hand, do it that way, and then put the other one, but turn it down. Yeah. So what you do when you're doing this and you're kneeling forward is you are in the middle of conquest, because you're about to grab the beast or capture your whatever, right? So you're here, you're kneeling, and then you move forward to capture, right?
Mhm.
So now we see this idea of how we have the hands here. So we're here. We move forward, kneel down, and go into a capture. Bring it in, and then settle it down. Right?
Mhm.
And what is remaining of that? That's your cane.
I like it.
So you see that there's a little story there, you know.
But do you think that you might be able to teach us like a very, very short combination?
I was thinking that maybe what we could do is we could have the beginning of Los Viejitos is that really slow crawl, you know. Right? So perhaps what we can do is we could think about just something really simple that everybody does. Everyone does it. Everybody gets out of bed, right? So maybe we could think about how we're in bed, you know, and all of a sudden you're just like stretching. So stretch, like you're stretching and in, and then stretching out again and in. And then when you stretch to a certain side, you grab your cane. You're going to reach for it with both hands, grab it again, and then placing it in. That could be something that you can think about, and how it relates to the students, because everybody, like I said, everybody knows, oh, you wake up, you stretch,
Okay.
you reach for something, you grab it, and then you sort of do your movement.
I love it.
I think that interpretation is really what's great, because it actually doesn't, it doesn't say, oh, we're old or we're archaic. It says, look, we're the trend right now. This is where we are. And I think that's important. I think that's important for students to know, that you don't have to retain a lot of the old mentalities, but that you can give it your own flavor, no?
Exactly. We're using a different song, right? Of course, because we're making it Chicano.
Yeah.
We're using the song by Cuñao. It's the song is called Lluvia, and it's like we're using the song, and it's similar in ways that it starts off really slow. It uses similar instruments, but it's like Latino, and like it's very global, like a global kind of music, like world music, right?
Yeah.
And so we're using this song, and it's very similar, but I think the getting up is like so perfect, for like grabbing it. And when we do that, then like we do this like walk around, and after the walk around, we start doing like these jumps, and then we start doing the low rider. Then we do the facing, like happy, or pushing 6 feet away, or the sad, or the earth on this side of like, you know, the hard working, you know, showing that you live a full life. And then we do this idea of like coming forward, of like changing this season, right? This like changing of a paradigm shift forward, meaning that. And then we kind of like, oh, we're not quite ready for that.
Right.
And we get up, and then we do this intergenerational movement. work.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's great. I think that that's a beautiful, there's nothing more important, or I think there's nothing more beautiful than when you actually give importance to the steps and they have an actual theme and there's an underlying symbolism, I mean, the dance is referential in many aspects, not only to pay respect, but also to remind us that, life is about making mistakes, and life is about you always need to remember. It's a dance of remembrance,
Right.
and I think that using the Danza de los Viejitos as a not only as a protest dance, which is incredible, again, genius, and right now we can definitely say Danza de los Viejitos is a dance of remembrance for those that are are exiting this world because of a certain issue, but also the people who are there working to help us stay safe. So it's a great dance to teach your students. It's a great dance to motivate even adults. I mean, while it does maintain a very traditional approach, it's also a very individual perspective, or an individual motion, So I think it's great that you're teaching these students, to understand the traditions of Danza de los Viejitos. I think it's great that you're, teaching them how to be respectful of keeping a unison, or dancing together, but at the same time being unique, right? It's great that you're teaching them not only understanding cardinal points, but also using the elements as sources of emotional display. It's really great. And I think that Danza de los Viejitos as a protest statement, you need to put that on, you need to IG that, you need to Facebook that, because if you make this really incredible argument, which is what you're doing now,
Right.
breaking down Danza de los Viejitos as a form of protest against what's going on right now,
Right.
I think you're gonna be in the books, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you so
Have
much.
a wonderful. Oh my God, no, thank you for the opportunity.
All right.
For joining us this week. Thank you to Gabriel for that conversation, and thinking of, reminding us and putting words to articulate this dance, Danza de los Viejitos, as a dance of protest and a movement that we're doing that creates awareness and documenting our history and what we're all experiencing right now. Remember to make your masks as creative as possible. Where do you see, where do you envision the future? How do you want to represent your movement? Are you, being humorous? Are you representing an authentic story of your family? Cici made this one, and we're going to work with this. We're going to work with our masks next week. So please, everyone, use these tools. Again, create your TikTok videos. Use your own creativity. This is, you can imitate this dance, or you can use these tools and create your own work. I hope to see more engagement next week. Thank you so much. See you all. Peace.
Hi, and welcome to week 5 of Chicano Folklorico. This week we're making our last costume item, which is the poncho, also known as the orongo. We're going to be making the orongo out of recycled paper bags. You'll need a recycled paper bag, paint, markers, paper, and scissors. In Purepecha, where Danza de los Viejitos is originated from, they have a strong history of hand embroidery. They're usually done in bright colors, and they tell stories about celebrations, either in families, in the neighborhood, and also personal stories. Spark actually had an exhibition a while back of embroiderers from Tanivet in Oaxaca, and they were asked to tell their own stories through weaving. In their embroidered quilts, they told the stories of migrations of their husbands, their dreams for reuniting with their families who have crossed the border. I'm going to show a clip from New Codex, Oaxaca. It's to show a little bit of an example of what I just talked about.
Bueno, cuando yo trabajo sobre la inmigración en mis cuadros, trato de plasmar un poquito de lo que hemos vivido nosotras las mujeres al sufrir la ausencia de nuestros maridos que emigran para los Estados Unidos. Un poco de todo, más que nada, cómo cruzan nuestros esposos, cómo nos sentimos nosotras, nuestros hijos, en general toda la familia, pues, al ver cómo se van ellos, más que nada mi esposo me relata cómo él emigró. Me dijo, ¿sabes qué? Así pasé. Dijo, bueno, no idéntico, pues, pero un poco más que se asemeja a lo que él sufrió.
Yo quiero decirle a mis hijos, pues, que nosotros estamos trabajando y plasmamos lo que sentimos de lo que ellos se fueron para allá y queremos que ellos lo vean allá, pues, de que sientan que nosotros estamos acá y que estamos trabajando y que siempre estamos pensando en ellos.
As you can see, telling your story can be really powerful. Like the examples we've seen, let's create our own story and design our poncho as if we were embroidering it. Your story can be something you overcame, a really exciting time in your life. It could be just a day in the life. Take some time to journal several stories and then try and develop imagery, as we've been doing for weeks now. And from there, pick up some key characters that you can paint. I'm developing my stories and seeing what images I could put together. Take the handles off of your paper bag and then cut the sides of them. It'll open up like that. Then cut a hole for your head. I recommend painting the base of it white or a solid color so that you can draw your images on top. There you go. Now it's ready to dance in. Thank you so much for joining us. Next week, I am going to assemble all of it and kind of do a recap. But it's been really fun making different items with you, and I really hope you've had fun too.